Interesting little thing. Not too long ago, when I was given the opportunity by a Mayako distributor to run one of their cars for a little while, I jumped at the opportunity. Of course, I wanted to try the car, see how it did out of the box, and I was just going to leave it at that. However, it was then when I received this shoebox and this sheet of paper with specs considering exactly what came on my car, along with a QR code along on the chassis as well, of different resources that I could use along with the Mayako car itself. It was at this point when I realized Mayako was a lot more than just the MX-8, even the MX-8E as well. So in this video, I'm going to be going over my short-term experience with the Mayako project. Also, just to let you guys know, I was not cut a check by Mayako in any way, shape, or form other than just being given the car. I was given the car to do a review, along with some other resources that a regular Mayako customer would have. Also, because my Peach State Classic footage got corrupted, it'll just be me talking to you guys via this camera for most of the video, along with some studio shots, or room shots I guess, of the car itself, along with some running footage at Loganville RC Complex when I actually got footage of the car running. Before we begin, I'd also like to thank my sponsors A-Main Hobbies, RC Trophy Chasers, Cow RC, and newly, Lead Finger Racing. Anything you guys purchase using the links in the description below will directly support me as well. Let's begin with the car first, and exactly what it was like to build. The best way I could describe how the car went together would be like a Schumacher with all the small grub screws, little shims, and spacers and stuff like that, but slightly better put together than a Schumacher would be in 10 scale. There was one specific spot where I had a little bit of issue, specifically in the rear hubs with the spacers, the plastic spacer for the bearing having a little bit too much material on there, so I had to trim it out with an X-Acto knife. But other than that, everything on the car went together extremely well, especially the shocks, which were probably the best fitting shocks I've ever worked on any RC car. Other than that, the build went together fairly easily for the most part. It took me about 8 hours and 34 minutes to actually build the car completely, not including the electronics. That is also including that little spacer that I had to trim out as well. Now, there's a whole bunch of resources regarding tips on how to actually build the car from the Mayako representatives, and this leads me into the next section, the actual Mayako community itself. Now, there's a common misconception when it comes to the Mayako program as a whole that in order for you to get any sort of help or really any access to any of the resources that you need to actually make this car work, you need to be part of the Mayako membership. I'll get to the Mayako membership in a little bit, but just know that for now, this is not the case. When you buy a buggy from Mayako, specifically from their Mayako store or from any one of their service centers or distributors like A-Main or something like that, you're given access to all these things via QR code that comes on the chassis or on this magic sheet that I told you about earlier. Also on that magic sheet denotes what exactly comes on your specific kit. For example, this specific kit comes with 5x1.5 pistons, medium grip brown springs, KPI 1, caster 1, upper links, and a black wing. The black wing I messed up, so I gave it a yellow one instead. Depending on where you are in the world, you might get different parts depending on what your tracks actually require. For example, for a higher grip track, you might get thicker sway bars and 8-hole pistons. If you're on a lower grip track, you might get what this comes with as well. Moving on to the Mayako membership program, I can't really speak too much as to what you actually get and what it's like to be part of the membership program yourself, because I myself am not a member. What I can do though is tell you what it's advertised as, specifically in terms of what you're supposed to get with it. Now, first off, you're supposed to get access to members-only meetings, members-only live streams. You're supposed to get access to members-only parts of the store so you can run prototype parts, like for example the Truggy that's supposed to be coming out soon, and a couple other things like members-only prototype parts. Whether or not the Mayako membership is actually for you can depend on a couple different factors. How active you are in the RC community, how technically savvy are you in terms of testing and tuning, and how far into testing and tuning you actually are. If you're the kind of person who just puts the car down and drives every single time, the Mayako membership isn't going to be for you. It's not really trying to be for you. However, even with the Mayako membership, you're still given all the resources needed in order to succeed if you're willing to seek out help and put the work in. Now, how exactly the Mayako membership has been like for me and for other people looking to join, well, that's going to be our next section. Just like other brands, there are lots of different people with different backgrounds and experiences to pull from in terms of making this car actually work. However, unlike those other brands, say for maybe a Gamma, all those people are congregated in one place, specifically on the Discord server. This leads me to how service centers actually work. Service centers themselves are not hobby shops. They are individuals or groups of individuals who carry lots and lots of parts to different events around their region. For example, there's a regional rep in my general area who goes to multiple different races in Georgia and Southeast in general and carries all the Mayako parts that one could ever need. With all that being said, why don't we finally get to the car and talk about how it's designed and then find out how it drives. Like I said before, this particular car is the regional US e-buggy with all the aforementioned parts to make it drive as easily as possible for our tracks. Now there are quite a few different variations of the car available for members and those who just ask, like the 3-piece rear hub, different top plate design, upper A-arms rather than lengths for a few other things. For now though, I'm going to focus on the particular MX-8E that I received and what it came with. Like I said, the regional US kit comes with all the things I mentioned prior, like upper links, 2.3 and 2.5mm sway bars front and rear, 5x1.5 pistons, KPI and caster 1 options, and a few other things like CVDs in the front, universals in the rear, a large capacity center diff, upper link, chassis braces, and emulsion shock caps. The car is set up to run either an LCG 4S stick pack or 4S shorty like you see here. I personally haven't run the LCG 4S quite yet, but I'll be sure to give it a shot in the near future. Also, I know this is going to come up in the comment section, so I'll go ahead and mention it now. The regular kit does not come with a receiver box, though it is fairly easy to use either 3D printed one supplied by one of the service centers, or use another brand's receiver box instead like Kyosho. So if you run on a very dusty track like out west or during practice, don't fret too much. Now that we got all the boring stuff out of the way, why don't we finally talk about how this thing actually drives. Like I said, the car is designed to be easy to drive and, well, it is indeed easy to drive. If I had to use a metaphor to describe how the MX-8E drives, it would be the opposite of how a Techno drives. Whereas a Techno responds very well to a very reactive driving style, the Mayako responds much better to a planned driving style. What I mean is that if you're more used to driving a lot harder, placing your car pretty much wherever it lands and going from there, lines be damned, it will take a lot of work for the Mayako to drive how you want it to in that respect. Conversely, if you're more used to planning out your lines before you even get to the corner and are able to hit an apex with some frequency, the Mayako will be much better for you. This car carries a lot of corner speed when you want it to, and on a track with long sweeping bends and high speed sections, the MX-8 excels. Where it doesn't excel though is the 180 heavy motocross style tracks where corner speed isn't really as important as your ability to swap directions on a dime. Unfortunately, unless you really tune for it, the MX-8E doesn't really want to do. If you pay close attention to the footage you're seeing on screen right now, you can really see I was losing times to other buggies in the 180s, but was gaining them on them in the higher speed sections of the track. This was true of both this track and the Robin Arena and Peach State Classics not too long ago. As for durability, I don't really have much to say. The car hasn't broken yet, but I haven't had it for too long either, so we'll have to see how long that takes until that happens. I plan on hanging into this car for a little while to test see how it does for the most part in more harsh and specifically colder conditions to see how it does, so stay tuned for that. I also plan on staying on the Mayako community train for a little while longer to get a better feel of what it's like and if it's something that I would recommend for others to join as well. If you guys made it this far in the video, I really appreciate you. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more. I'd also like to thank my active patrons Michael Williams, RC World Discord server, Casey Nix, Ben Reeves, Dave Armstrong, Rob Bedingfield, Caden Merks, Ian Petrie, Jeffrey Coons, James D. Anderson, Shane T. Ruth, Gable Barber, and especially Buddy Howell and Morrison Ron. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.